and that was a recurring problem for them in map 1. Could have been in map 2, so they did have a little bit of a dicey spot there from the Wildcard Aces rushing in on round 7. And it very well will be a problem here on our third map of Chalet.
The ban phase of our third map of Chalet. Some standard operator bans. One not outstanding, but different. Actually, 2 of them make that as the mirror is removed. Both Nook and Mirror removed for the first time each in this series. Ying's second time, the first back on Oregon. And Azami, that consistent factor going to set in once more. Surprisingly not banned on Bank, and actually a fairly prevalent part of the defensive side for both teams. But they will still have to, I think, importantly, play around a different defensive operator, them being the Wildcard Aces, because they were playing it a little bit more often than not. Wildcard also starting in the attacking side here on Chalet. I don't know what you favor if you play on Chalet, if you attack Chalet or defend. I prefer to play the defense because I am a chronic ranked enjoyer, but when I play 10-mans, and there are a rare occasion that I do, and it's a little bit more of a stock standard, more strat-based setup, sometimes, again, it's 10-mans and we're staff, so we're not that good. But it feels like that defensive side still holds some ground as long as you discount the top floor. And Taken Kings are not discounting the top floor. They're starting there for some unknown reason.
You missed out after the Ohio land for CR6, Dan, when you left early for that one.
No.
We had a great showcase match that night against one of the collegiate teams. I can't remember who it was. But I had not played R6 in 8 months. And I proceeded to top frag on Chalet, and the only map I know how to play. I'll be really honest with you. When this map came in, when Siege 2.0 was announced and put into the test servers, I no-lifed out of nowhere back into the game, a resurgence back in my life of this game being just the best thing in the world to me. And Chalet was the map that got reworked when Siege 2.0 dropped. Chalet has always been my favorite map, especially after its rework. It's even more so. It's actually a good map. I can actually say it's that. So I'm a heavy fragger. I'm always on the attack, but that's the issue for the NA lifestyle in general. Statistically speaking, especially when it comes to the amateur scene, NA is still in this attacker mindset for this map. You jump over to the EU side for the amateur scene, and it's defensive favored. You want to see teams fall more to the defensive side. You want to see a lot more sentineling is what I'll say. Very much so sit in stronghold positions like a dock inside library. So if they toss nades over or anything in between, you can, eat that damage and stem yourself up in between it. We saw that happen for Method last time they faced the Taken Kings in this map, but they did it in Solarium. And the Taken Kings picked them apart very well. That round didn't go in their way, but every other one that did was the Taken Kings doing a great job to get the entry, which was always statistically in their favor. When Vipoa went absolutely brutal in map 1 despite the loss. With a great shot there by Vipoa. Scoob going crazy on map 3 and JetCon carrying on map 2. Taken Kings know how to open, and they just did it there. Riot, your sledge, your nades? Bye-bye, buddy.
Honestly, if anybody's gonna die on this site first, though, I would rather lose your sledge. Not Riot, Riot's a good player, but the sledge themselves, you're not looking for any vertical pressure. The extent of what you may open is a couple castle barricades, of which I believe already are, mostly, and you have some ability to play for that. Bino, that was a Gemini replicator, not actually Bino. I was a little concerned that he was just casually sitting behind the half wall. But they're now looking to switch their attention elsewhere. Wumbo, now the first one to go down, will be finished off. Vipoa, with the gamer glasses you brought up earlier, quickly taken care of as well, and that's the site falling. I don't know if the Taken Kings know this. They are defending the top floor, but for some reason, still 2.5 players are trying to defend the bottom, and it's working. A kill found for JetCon brings it back to a 3v3, and they fully retaken Master.
I'm not sure why Scoob is still lingering around towards T elbow, but thank you for the security there from JetCon. Player lying down prone behind the piano. May have thought they were in a frost mat. That's not the case. JetCon, though, the frost will pounce. The 9mm good for one more. Shots from closet, but it's JetCon again, ripping apart the competition. JJ the deputy. I'm sorry to break it to you. The only law here is a 9mm in the hands, and it's Taken Kings finding a round to start things off. The first blood shenanigans rises to the occasion again. Wow, this is the Taken Kings defense. Why were they on the first floor, Dan? I don't know, but it worked. Can't dog it too hard.
The late rotation worked, and I think the most important aspect of it is they all made the call at the exact same time. About at the same time I called it out, they were like, oh yeah, we're defending the top floor, and both rotated up Solarium and got into Master to directly defend the other site. I have to say, Wildcard Aces needed to take advantage of the real estate they were given. There should have been preset drones. There should have been drones actively being used to find out the information that nobody was there defending either site for a 15 to 20 second span, and maybe 10. But you get the general idea. Wildcard caught out, and because of their hesitancy, are caught off guard, and the Taken Kings able to come back into the round and take it in their own right. Important casual 4K from Jetgon too, because, you know, the 9mm, who needs a good fire rate when you have decent shots? That's exactly what comes through. Headshots plural, and the round itself to open.
Consistency at which we see the Taken Kings getting first bloods is not a mere conjecture. It's not just, hey, they go and be aggressive right off the rip. That is occasionally the idea. They go for some spawn peeks. They get a couple nice angles right off the bat. The Taken Kings, they play a very nice level of passivity that is ruthless. They wait for an opening to be created by the Wildcard Aces, and then they'll strike back through that opening to cut down the opponent at hand. Right now, the opening of choice will happen to be that exothermic breach now being created up on Snowmobile Wall. And look at how we're seeing a player lagging through this. Scoob's just waiting for the perfect time to pounce, but unfortunately doesn't get it. It's a Riot to get the first blood onto Wumbo for the opposing side of Taken Kings.
Taken Kings are playing fairly distant from one another as well. A very diverse defensive setup that I think is fairly useful at this point. They will shoot out that Dread Mine. That is a very weird mechanic for the Dread Mine, by the way. Vipo will be downed and then retrieved. I'm not sure if that was a friendly down, just to be retrieved for extra health, or if they were casually dusted and then retrieved. Either way, it's a one-for-one trade elsewhere, still reinforcing the Wildcard Aces man advantage. Burnt Turkey has made a decent bit of noise, but because of the fact that the Logic Bomb did not go off in time, Bry was caught off, as is now Riot, and just like that, Taken Kings have retaken the man advantage, and full site pressure. They're casually sitting around.
A man outside of Fireplace Hall door doesn't turn in time. You don't get the scan off. The call's coming from inside the house, and the call's coming from 10 feet to your right. Gotta have the headphones on. Can't have them on backwards. There is no excuse. The Taken Kings will scrape that kill away. They'll Burnt Turkey will escape with their life in tow. And on top of that here, damn. Kill off screen from Scoob nets a man advantage for the Taken King. Despite losing first blood, they're now back. Paw on the right hand. 3 versus 2. 45 seconds now left and remaining. JJ watching towards connector hatch. Maybe waiting for somebody to give them an angle, and Burnt Turkey rips down JJ, and there goes Bino. Scoob taking no victims. The prisoner is not here. A double angle for connector hatch, a pre-fire on stairs. What can they not do? The Taken Kings take another round.
Timing I thought was going to come back to bite them. Wildcard Aces, if you drop there half a second early, you probably get the jump onto Burnt Turkey, and I'm not going to say probably, but at least give yourself a better opportunity at winning the round. I think the other problem was the fact they just hadn't cleared out the back corner of the default shelf. They hadn't cleared out any information around blue because they lost their third player earlier, and the Taken Kings had that level of comfortability that they needed on the defensive side. They'll now head to their tertiary bomb site, for some reason not playing bar gaming at all on the defensive side. They have the opinion it's an overrated bomb site, but their defensive setup not bringing most of what you usually see. There's no mute here, no smoke, no Tachanka to make up for the lack of a smoke, no Goyo. Did they just put the operators into a random number generator and come out with Warden, Wamai, Jaeger, Doc, and Malusi?
My teammates are ranked.
Honestly, what? I'm putting this on Twitter. Nah.
Pretty sure this was put on Twitter yesterday as well.
Happy said something like, my ranked
That's why
teammates.
I stole the line. It was definitely not my thing. Yeah, good luck having anyone see that tweet, Dan, if you're tweet limited. Second time we'll mention that. I don't think it actually is a thing today, but, you know, it is what it is. Red phase over at Taken Kings now on the defense. A very interesting selection. They do have the Doc. Maybe it was, in fact, the Taken Kings that brought that out. It wasn't Method previously. It would make some sense to me if that is the case, because it was Method that had accidentally killed themselves with an nade trying to work in from that Solarium window. So knowing the dock is there and trying to burn that dock with nades could be the reason why that was the case. Or Toss gone the other way and gone to the player trying to rappel up to the top. Who truly knows? Maybe Happy does, because my memory is not what it used to be. Age and everything else in between, and every single operator's ability and names. It adds up at the end. 5 versus 5, still no first blood having been gained, but the pressure is coming from Master Bedroom, big window, and a Garu hook from right here, Dan. It's going into Solarium. Scoobs how to get it. Scoobs, what are you looking away for? But he still gets the kill. What in the world was that?
I thought the timing's gonna get the better of him. He heard the Gara hook. He also saw the spread nature of the grapple of the Gara hook and still looked away for a second. I think he was a little hesitant, maybe because of a nade, maybe because of pressure from the Master's side, what have you. Still concerned, yet still a kill. And Riot, a very early death here to an important round for the Wildcard Aces. Remember, they went down 3-0 in our previous matchup, or previous map, before the tech pause, and then they lost 3 more. And I don't think all that many things are going to change. Twizzler does find a very nice angle on a trade of burnt turkey, so we stayed a 3v3 and a whole null and void round up to this point.
The slow and steady push from the Wildcard Aces a bit over aggressive off the start. I think they've had to, change up their strategy from that point. The player is inside Solarium. Bino is going to put some pressure on that trophy window, with Twizzler not far behind. Looks like a double man push may go hot dropping in through that side. Still a man on the defense not far behind it. JJ on roof. He's working Master Bedroom side. Is going to go ahead and breach down the hatch inside of Master Bedroom. Give them an angle towards kitchen. That'll put JetCon in a bad spot. They may have to think about relocating, but the still concern of the Solarium staircase there, you have to be wary of the fact that there could be an angle on either side. Bino, Z-Ping knows for a fact the player is there. Twizzler moving over towards the highway side. Is going to drop over towards the main entrance, but it is a nade, in fact, from Bino that deals with the player of JetCon I mentioned inside kitchen. Their Rumbo sitting inside main.
No
they
way.
gotta get dealt with, and Twizzler sprays down the lonesome man, and it's just Vipoa. A 1v3. 18 seconds ticking. Great headshot for one. Swings to a second, but can't find it. Wumbo has left the game. The Taken Kings will make a pause. Yeah, right decision here.
Honestly, if I died like that, I'd leave the game too. Whether it was intentional or not, I'd probably throw my computer across the room. Unfortunately, an FPS bug is not going to save you from being wallbanged off a Z-Ping. Near perfect information gathering from the Wildcard Aces, and honestly exactly what they needed. A tempo switch, sure, in the earlier stages of the round, but the most notable part of their attacking setup was how they combined the vertical pressure of grenades and their horizontal late round pressure of information gathering for casual wallbangs. That's exactly what they needed, converting information into kills. We call it actionable intel. If you can do something with it, it's actionable. That's exactly what they do. Z-Ping into a headshot through a wall. Z-Ping into a nade through a hatch. Wildcard Aces, clinical, albeit do give up a kill, but had the information into the corner cubby player, and then turn it into a round.
How many FPS bugs are we going to get here?
That's it.
Dan,
that is
still
2.
throwing it back your way. You said hopefully no rehosts or any technical problems. And what have we had the whole dang time?
I plead the 5th, Your Honor.
You can just call me Infernos. I don't respond to Your Honor. Oh, Taken Kings 2-1 so far. That last round was pretty entertaining, though, if I have to say anything so myself. Solarium presence was very much so indicated from the Wildcard Aces very early in the round. That's why I think the Garu hook was very much so anticipated by the Taken Kings, by Scoob sitting up top there. But it still didn't stop the eventual loss of that control. I think that was the Wildcard Aces diversifying the push up through main window inside Master Bedroom towards big window. They also had a player outside on highway to maybe cut down towards T. When they eventually did dive in quickly, it was Twizzler's crossfire shot from big window that took down your Warden of Burnt Turkey. And that changed the entire pacing of this round. Window repel, upside down, great shell up through the floorboards of kitchen. The rooftop side of kitchen, the floorboards of Master Bedroom. Wildcard Aces had a really good setup for their attack at that first floor. On the Taken Kings, I'm looking at that and I'm trying to avoid that. Let's go ahead and head up to our next objective of choice. They are heading up to the second floor, master bedroom and office. If I had to take a pick of any objective to go to, this one would most definitely not be on the list, especially after they had already torn apart your second floor extension. Imagine what they will do for your second floor hold.
And in the first round we saw this here for the Taken Kings, it was a different round, I think is a fairly good adjective to use. But it was weird, especially for how the Taken Kings played it when they lost some of that on-site pressure. I talked about it, they were playing a little bit more like they were defending kitchen dining compared to actually when they defended the kitchen dining site. And yet, it still worked out for them in the later stages because they basically all retook Master and had a rejuvenated bit of life as they tried to retake across. I don't know how this is going to work in the later stages of this round for Taken Kings, but earlier on, if they can extend horizontally more than vertically, I think they're in a much better position.
We'll have to see whether or not that horizontal extension, easy for me to say apparently, will pan out here. Gemini Replicator up into the top of library, just making sure nobody for the Taken Kings is currently lying there. Interesting from JetCon, they've left open that eastern side most wall, that is correct. No, that's the western side most wall. Open and soft. That what I'm getting at is they've left half of the walls connecting into office weak to peer through and take shots forward from. And despite the angle at which JetCon was holding, how did the sledge of Riot squeak through the staircase from Snowmobile Garage up into Fireplace Hall? Could have been a first blood for the Taken Kings, but instead they'll bite the bullet in return. It's Wumbo cleared out by Bino. What a rough game from them. 0-4, had a rough map too as well. Map 1 did okay, and they've got to step up because the Taken Kings cannot have any stragglers here in a best of 3 final here for our final map.
JetCon not slowing down anytime soon. The Frost for the defensive side of Taken Kings has looked efficient as ever here on Chalet, but JetCon patiently waiting behind the office desk. This is not a position you traditionally drone, nor would you have any reason to do so, but his position noted from the far side, over-aggressing and to his own demise. JJ able to shut him down, man advantage now gained for the Wildcard Aces, and where are the Taken Kings? That's the real question. You can see one, that's Vipoa around towards Piano and Bathroom. Scoob, I believe, is downstairs alongside Burnt Turkey. No, Scoob is around Piano as well, but Burnt Turkey trying to play vertically as the castle with the shotgun. That's their best bet at bringing this back. If they diversify their defense, maybe they're in a good spot. But talking about diversity, there's your attacking side on the east side of the map while the rest of your team's elsewhere. Burnt Turkey through the hatch can't even find the kill in a 4v2, and a retake now required from the Taken Kings because they've just given up the other site.
What is Burnt Turkey currently playing as? What operator is he? It's a castle. I won't even give you the time of the day to figure it out yourself. It's a castle. Castle barricade? Big window? Maybe that would have been the play. If you get big window, you control T-Hall. You control the second floor. The objective is split in two. It is impossible to pivot between those sites and actively stop a plant. And for an objective like Office, where you openly created the opportunity to step in by leaving us a wall soft, they can plant behind brick stack. The only way you can deny is with a nitro cell tossed over the top, and you couldn't do it because you let them take big window. There's a reason why the second floor is abysmal to defend, and you opted to go over there. Obviously, the Taken Kings are going to lose that one. I don't think there was any and, if, ors, or buts about it. The Wildcard Aces do it very dominantly. That's the issue I have with it. Hopefully, this reattempt back down to the basement will work differently. For the Taken Kings, they can reassess the success they had early when they played it first. They can find themselves going back ahead because it's now tied 2-2.
The positive note about that for the Wildcard Aces is also changing their attacking setup. They noticed what had gone wrong the last time they tried to attack the top floor, and that is not having pressure elsewhere. They basically allowed Taken Kings to still fully occupy Master. They could freely occupy the rest of the top floor other than some of Piano and the far side of Office. That's it. That's all they were able to hold down. But because the difference is made, and as you mentioned, that Master window pressure that, again, should have been nullified by a castle barricade, they're able to turn it into a round victory. Taking advantages of maybe small mistakes, but notable mistakes nonetheless for the defensive side. JetCon attempts a spawn peek through what is the top of Fireplace Stairs window, and takes about 65 damage in doing so.
That's not it. Defense of the Taken Kings already off on bad footing. Breach will be opened up as well. Took less than 30 seconds to get it placed and detonated. The Wildcard Aces have now started to go through the process of diversifying their attacking positions. They don't need to just create one opening and step through it. The idea is to create many holes of opportunity, many weak, I would say weak openings for the side of the Taken Kings to poke and prod their way. So the Taken Kings, by the time 30 seconds comes up, will have 6 different angles at which they need to fear that the remaining players of Wildcard Aces will push through. And one of the greatest ways to do that here on the basement side is going to take control of Big Garage. You can also work in the hatches as well. You've already done a fairly good job of opening up the snowmobile garage, so you can also get some control inside Fireplace Hall for the stairwell. Blue Hall as well is a great angle to work from. And if the Kiba barricades were allowed to go through, it'd be an even bigger concern for the attacking team. But with the loss of those Kiba barricades, the Taken Kings are going to have a very hefty cost when it comes to defending Blue Hall, as there will no longer be a floor feet peak angle at the end of Hall placed with the Kiba barricade so that only the feet can be seen and the attack cannot fire back upon. But speaking of being fired back upon, Jetcon cannot hit it against the Gemini Replicator, and Burnt Turkey can't hit it against Twizzlers. They'll go down.
Twizzler playing on the top of the hatch, finds a second on a Scoob. Not done in this round just yet. Jetcon will try to back away, and will safely do so. So Taken Kings, even though they have a man disadvantage, still have a decent bit of utility sub, notably the Dread Mine directly above that door, and a Magnet to the left, nullifying some utility that could be dedicated. But now opening up the full side of the wine cellar wall and the front as well. They're looking to aggress, and they will do so indeed. Jetcon able to drop down Riot through that Selma, but the problem is that vertical pressure is still there for the attacking side, and a diffuser plant soon to follow. Vipoa walking around the wine cellar site freely, but the problem is they have no line of sight to the back corner. They have no way in, but finally the aggression's there. They don't shut down JJ quickly enough, though. He's still able to find one kill. A follow-up from Vipoa with the Keratos, no less. And it's a 1 versus 2 here for Twizzler on the top floor.
Nitro.
They need to aggress. They need to find some way in. A C4 thrown up, but it wildly misses. Twizzler disengages more than enough and has used the plants for obfuscation. Wumbo walking up the west main stairs has barely enough time, and he's been noted. There's no way in. There's no time remaining. They think Twizzler's fallen. The only thing to fall is the Taken Kings lead, as the Wildcard Aces will take it and go up here on Chalet.
Wumbo, if you're trying to make a note that you are not being the deficit for your team, that is most definitely not the way to do it. Has already been struggling in the KD. A random toss with a Nitro Cell when you could have collected yourself for the toss up first to guarantee that kill for the post plant. Unfortunately, it goes in the way of the Wildcard Aces, and I'm sure they're plenty happier. Now climbing a 2-0 deficit back up to 3-2. It's just like Oregon, Dan. And let's remember how Oregon went in the way of the Wildcard Aces. The only reason the Taken Kings were even able to bring it into overtime was because they made a couple mistakes. Pretty egregious ones at that. A TK that did the job just the same as Method had screwed up here on this map as well. And the Taken Kings are only making it out of maps or even close in maps because there are egregious mistakes such as TKs against the opposing team. What is their right to be here? They've got to do a lot better. They're going to show us that bank domination because that was a gorgeous display from the old HK Rebels side. That's now the Taken Kings. They want the 5-peat, and unfortunately, Wildcard Aces are making it work for it.
They did it back on Oregon. Wildcard Aces, of course, just narrowly winning their own map pick. The same margin in which they won their own map pick is the same amount of rounds they gained on their opponents. 2-round deficit, 2 rounds total over on Bank. And here on Chalet, there have been improvements in comparison, at least to our previous map. They've also shown that they deserve that attacking side a hell of a lot more, because back on their attack, when we saw them on Bank, they played 3 rounds. 2 of them they won, the last one of which ended it, so not all that much of a statistical, well, at least number to follow, but still I think a notable finish for them. Riot being actively droned into the bottom floor. Their drone has not cleared Wine Cellar, nor currently the front side of Blue, of which is where Burnt Turkey currently lies. So the Taken Kings may think the bottom floor has not been cleared, and they're somewhat correct. Rye also walking into a frost map, because drones don't exist or anything, but Riot still able to at least find a kill to return onto Scoob, with the Wamai being down. A technical man equalization, but Bry should and will be recovered.
A little unfortunate to see the Wildcard Aces struggling with intel when that was their go-to thing
Riot?
on map 1.
What?
Riot also struggling with intel. I don't know. Oh! Burnt Turkey! What in the world? Vipoa striking for another off screen. JJ down, taking Kings. They're trying to be crowned the victor at the end of this round. But Twizzler, who's 8-3, still on the board. Bino, 3-4. Little bit less than their cohort, but still just as solid of a player. Wildcard Aces have to get at least 2 a player on average. The drop down in front of Ego Window from Twizzler will smell their demise as Burnt Turkey wraps things up with JetCon in the final frag. The Taken Kings a much better round, but that could have gone completely the other way if it was not for Burnt Turkey. But that will tie things up 3-3 at halftime on Chalet.
If they properly drone Burnt Turkey on the bottom floor, this is a completely different round. They just had to add a second drone to the mix. Yeah, and at that point, you're looking at a completely different setup for that wild card attack. They would have actually A, actively cleared the warden, or B, forced him back enough to not be able to take up fireplace stairs. Find a first kill onto the sledge, a second onto the already low HP Ash. Nice shot, by the way. It was nuts.
Gorgeous.
And then I don't know how you're able to just consistently stay alive in fights or situations in which you should be either A, noted, or B, dead. And yet he is. So, all in all, well done for Burnt Turkey. Casually a 2.0 KD thus far. JetCon also a notable factor of the Taken Kings 3 rounds of the first half. And they'll switch the attack at a tied up scoreline. It's like we never left, just wildcard onto the defense.
Taken Kings having to make a pretty big comeback in that round to tie things up. What else would you expect? They did the same thing against Methane, and they've been very consistent with that as a scoreline. Maybe just Taken Kings thrive when they're under pressure. Not too sure. To be fair, if they are in fact Destiny fans here, Dan, then all in every raid encounter when you're first trying to do them, especially if you're trying to do them solo or in duo like they were mentioning in the Twitch chat yesterday, is entirely under pressure the entire time. Maybe they truly are a team that thrives that way. That maybe means I need to get my raid stack in on some Rainbow Six Siege games if Destiny 2 raid skill under pressure correlates at all to R6 potential. I seriously doubt it, though, considering every raid turns into Kermit the Frog impressions and nothing but jokes at midnight. Speaking of midnight, it's getting later and later into the night here, and the Taken Kings are still taking their sweet time just like yesterday. They came out victorious. They want the 5-peat like we mentioned multiple times, and this is probably the best chance we'll see of them being denied that. The Wildcard Aces now on the defense. Finger in hand for Riot. Twizzler, who had a great performance in the first half, a 2.0 KD. Locking in the Warden, which was very much so targeted out on our second map of Bank and was let through here on this one.
Looking at how Wildcard Aces have set up this defensive side, you just saw Bry watch a drone go right by the top of Library Stairs, but from the naked eye, it seems that Wildcard have completely disengaged from the southwest side of the map. If Bry is not noted sooner rather than later, they may be able to come for a flank, but I think he's rotated all the way over towards West Main, not even trying for that vertical pressure, I suppose. Go for it, back away, whatever. A second kill from the master window, though. There's the run out. That's what Brian was trying to set up. About 15 seconds in the making, and 3 seconds too late. They do still lose a second player, but only a one-man deficit still to face. Never mind.
Oh, you speak too soon, Dad. You and the caster curse today has not been going well for either side.
My bad.
Maybe we should just shut up.
All right, I'll just get Allie in here.
I apologize.
I'll get our productions director. I'm out.
Love you, Dan. Speaking of love, no love between Bino and Vipoa. Shots from the SMG-11. Wildcard Aces are finally giving a foot in the door for a comeback here. Fry still up on the second floor. A plethora of men for the Taken Kings side, still dominating all control from Piano and Office. And while Bry does send some tracers back their way, it is a hasty retreat made down the Solarium elbow stairs. I think this is a smart call from the Wildcard Aces, Dan. I think it's just a matter of time. The Taken Kings are forced to drop down, play where it's advantageous, watch those hatches from those corners, and change up the angle if you're the Taken Kings. Burnt Turkey from Fireplace Hall spots one, but can't close in for the shot. And instead, still have to worry about the 2 players. It's Burnt Turkey, though, to swing into Dining. Bino with a shot with the SMG-11 to Wumbo. JetCon from above. Just Bino not gonna survive nor thrive as Burnt Turkey AK-12s them into the afterlife. What can you do? Shots galore. The attack will find themselves victorious for their first round in the second half.
Taken Kings taking the lead, and the wildcard ace is having difficulty sustaining on that defensive side. I like the decisions that Bry had made throughout. The one I displease of, or discourage at least, is seeing how he rotated from trophy back into dining without having any further information nor actively swinging onto the hatch. Because you could see he was playing behind that showcase situation, trying to play for vision onto the hatch while not being seen himself. It was a good idea, but then he rotated like the hatch just got reinforced randomly by the ghost of above. Spoiler alert, it didn't. That's where he died from. And if Twizzler swings that actively, he either wins the fight or gives his teammate a fighting chance at the second player. But because the drop had come through, Bino was really forced to take that fight long distance before switching his purview, and he overcommitted. He was forced to, in all fairness, not his fault whatsoever. And the Taken Kings took advantage of it, and do so properly into a round victory.
One of the biggest things we've seen from the Taken Kings is their ability to find first kills. Last round was really garnered from Big Window. I think that's been a major issue for both of these teams. Obviously, the Taken Kings struggled defensively when it came to Big Window control. Last round, we saw an answer from the Wildcard Aces, something that we didn't actually see come out from the Taken Kings defense. Their dive out from underneath in dirt, swing up through the staircase, get the run out, get the kill. Obviously, too late. 2 kills already been garnered from that apex position. But the Taken Kings know that it works. And I think that's going to be the biggest factor. They saw where the run out comes from. Claymores can be placed. They bring quite a few of them every single round. In the pockets there of Jack Con and Wumbo. And if they choose to go towards that window again, then they know what's going to work and what's not going to. The issue is the different side. Got to deal with the first floor, billiards, and bar. And the issue with this site is library as a whole. Get control of library, swing into mezzanine. Try to get to control of top of stairs. You typically put 2 players library, 3 coming in from that west side of the map, taking control of piano and moving into Ivy Hall. Typically there's shield at the top of stairs. Thank you very much, Observer, for showing that perfectly. It's Bry currently lagging behind it. They'll burn out as many ADSs and or magnets, in this case JJ's magnets, as they can. The Taken Kings will have to deal with that shield, and it is a very big cost to do so.
Taken King's attack is much slower this time around. They've barely entered into the map, but a nice nade has actually landed. I think that was through the drone hole. Bino's down, not out just yet, and should be able to be recovered. But the difficult position is Taken Kings now have an avenue of attack in. This looks like they're just going to jump in. Watch for the aggression on that far side of the map because they could just go for it. Timing, however, will discourage them from doing so and back them out. But now the aggression, Burnt Turkey just walking up the fireplace stairs, walking straight into the site, finds a first kill, a second across. There's just been 5 seconds gone, and seemingly everybody's died. It's a 1v2 for Twizzler. P90 in hand, a near full mag available, and the diffuser down in and or around the direct site pressure that was established earlier. Information gained as to the whereabouts of the Ash at the top of fireplace stairs, but Twizzler misses the opportunity. JetCon punishes him for it, and the Taken Kings build up a 2-round lead.
Taken Kings with a go-ahead round, much needed as we head into round 9. The wildcard aces on the defense have not yet found an answer. First half started, the Taken Kings going up 2-0. I think they don't like the idea that the second one's going the exact same way. Wildcard aces call a timeout. It is a use it or lose it territory. If you have it, might as well make use of it. They've seen at least one objective on the first. They've seen an attempt on the other. So they want to say, hey, how we defended these, there's problems. How can we adjust? The issue in my mind, though, here, Dan, is because it's a 3-3 half, they didn't go up 4-2, they weren't able to see 3 objectives. Giving the Taken Kings a much better chance at going 6-3 is bad. So they have to call a timeout here. They're going to reattempt one of the objectives they've already played, a lot more likely than not. They're going to have to change their strategy up from the ground up. And I think the biggest factor is going to be big window control inside master bedroom. It's going to be the run-in potential for the timing from billiards window as well as in through library window. Because there's no Kiba barricades, it's really difficult for the defense to hold down library in general. And so they have to think about what defensively will change that. Is it information? Is it a matter of not having the dock stay alive inside of library? Is it just an issue of their site decision in the first place? They'll move down to the basement and pray that this will be enough. Well, the Taken Kings I don't know. I feel like they're a team that couldn't be well prepped for this. They obviously couldn't defend it very well. Maybe they can attack it.
The aggression for Wildcard, I think, has to work a little bit better, though. They've played a little bit more dynamic on that defensive side, similar to what we saw in map number 1, but the difficulties for them still remained into trying to pick up early engagements. That was what we saw in the previous round. Valiant effort on the clutch there from Twizzler, by the way, but just could not pick up that second kill to really set it in motion. And the Taken Kings are taking everything. Real estate, opening kills, they are converting one into the other, and the Wildcard Aces are having so many difficulties, it's difficult to put your finger on, oh, if they change this one or this second thing, there's going to be a switch up good enough to change the outcome of a round. That's just not the case. There have to be minor adjustments in a few separate fields, and I think the first is that direct site pressure that we've seen. By the way, Wildcard, I think, has one player on the site. Yeah, you can see the outlines. There's one player on the site. If Taken Kings open that exothermic charge and just hold W, it'll work. But the dock was seen not allowing the drone any further in, so not as much information gained as to the direct whereabouts of the Wildcard Aces defense.
Brad's going to sit over on a fireplace staircase with the breach having been opened. We had seen the Taken Kings just lag behind it, hoping for that pickup. I said they do like to be aggressive for the first kill. I like their passivity initially, but it looks like it'll be a hot breach, supposedly, with the hammer coming out here from their sledge of JetCon and Vipoa waiting for the countdown. They've been spotted, though. Great flick by JetCon. What a shot to deal with Bry Wumbo finding one of their own, coming into their own footsteps. Their first kill here, going in around 9. What more can you ask for? That's perfect. That's 2 kills now up for the Taken Kings. This is a 3 versus 5. The Wildcard Aces are losing quickly control of that second floor. Their last foothold there, Dan, is control of stairs, and they don't even have top stairs. They're stuck on the landing between both floors.
Positive notion is for the defensive side, the 2 players that died didn't have direct influential utility. First kill found, a second from JJ. Both of them swing down the highway corridor and are able to find a kill apiece. Both players that were around the big garage quickly taken care of, and the Wildcard Aces have stabilized, at least in some way, shape, or form. Luckily, JJ has stim pistols, because he's going to go right back up to full HP. Right, the same notion, and just like that, a true 3v3, but it's health advantages for the Wildcard defense.
JetCon just clearing out as many floorboards as they possibly can. With a loss of life that came unwarranted and unreturned for the Wildcard Aces, Dan, I think the Taken Kings have realized they're going to have to start stepping more towards sight. With the talk of JJ over by Boiler. Twizzler inside of Blue Hall. This is a really spread out defense of the Wildcard Aces. The Taken Kings don't have a safe space to step in just yet. JJ trapped in Boiler. Maybe that shot would have been enough, but the floors from up above have been cleared, and they may think that's good enough for them. Deputy moving a corner. JJ has the space to work with. Do they know? JetCon surely doesn't, but it's Vipoa that matters, and JJ strips them down, and Twizzler wraps them up as the Taken Kings fall, dethroned and crowned. The Wildcard Ace is finally finding a foothold in a round to get back into this one.
2 separate stages to that round for the Wildcard defense. Technically 3, but the first one they don't want to talk about. Losing those 2 players early, not the greatest of positions. Bino and Bry were dead in the first, minute and 10 seconds. Bad situation for them to be in. No 2 ways about it. But coming back into it to bring 2 kills back. Nice double swing from the bottom of West Main and the front side of Wine Cellar into the big tower, big garage corridor to find a kill apiece. That is really what set their defense in motion, and with how spread out they were, that smoke that you saw from the vertical pressure, you brought it up. It should have had a massive influence. The problem is, the pressure from the far side couldn't come through, they had a lack of information on the attacking side, and Wildcard Aces had an abundance. They had all the info they needed because there was a black eye camera set on the far side of Highway, noting exactly where Vipoa was on the Iona. To the point where you could just see JJ pre-fire the Iona as they walked through the hallway. And after that, it was just a domino effect to the rest of the team. Wildcard Aces, that's their first defensive round, and a big one.
Scoreline now 4-5. Dan, it has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I know you don't hear that often, but I'll say it.
I know, right? I was going to say it too. I was going to say the same joke. I was going to say first time for everything.
my goodness. But for the Taken Kings, that last round, when you get 2 kills like that, and then you get 2 returned, it's a little demoralizing, right? At least in my opinion. When you get a great flick from JetCon to deal with the player that was peeking ego window, you find another pick off screen from, I believe it was Wumbo at the time, and then have all of that fall through your fingertips, it's a little rough. I think they made a good recovery, but the hold on site from the Wildcard Aces, it was spread out very well. But I think what succeeded for them was the angles that they were over aggressing on that gave them the kills. JJ caught over towards Boiler, great job. Player inside Blue Hall, another one over towards Snowmobile. It was just the perfect spread that caught the Taken Kings unaware. Speaking of getting caught unaware, Twizzler on a bottom rappel gets caught out from Burnt Turkey. What a shot.
Burnt Turkey was so far removed from what is the normal rappel there. Usually you're trying to play through like the canine double window and looking for aggression that way, but I didn't know you could rappel that far over. That's how far removed he was from what is the norm. Nice shot from Vipoa. JJ tries for the swing, just barely misses the angle, and the Wildcard Aces lose a second player. But remember 2 things. Number 1, the top floor is not the site, and number 2, last round, Wildcard Aces were in another 3v5. I would be the least surprised person here if they did it again.
Gemini Replicator cleared away. Taken Kings will have a little bit of information off the back of that one. Poe are trying to bait that they were still a replicator as they step on in, takes a huge lick of damage, and the drop hatch does seemingly work out. But off screen, another player for the Wildcard Aces was torn asunder. And with the hatches still being under control for the Taken Kings, and apparently Riot not having moved away from the danger zone, they're gonna get put in a corner. And that'll be now a 1 versus 5 shotgun, and Hanbino can't take anything out towards Scoob as a flawless round. I think the only flawlesses we've seen in the last 2 maps have been at the hands of the Taken Kings, and that is the one that puts the Taken Kings now at match point, series point here for the absolute final here for our Summer Splash.
Wildcard Aces need to make up for the ground lost. They'll head back to Bar Gaming, a site in which they lost the last time they played it. Difficulties mounting for this defensive side. Now remember, the last time we saw Bar Gaming, it was basically just everybody holding W into one another and leaving a wildly manageable pseudo 1v3 for Bry, of which was then brought to a 1v2, he missed shots on an Ash and died. That's basically what happened. We also, for some reason, saw them completely forego any bottom floor control, because Fireplace Stairs isn't like an important position to hold down when it's right next to the site or anything. I say sarcastically, knowing dang well that it is. And Wildcard Ace's defense looked so lax directly around the site because they tried an overextension. Sure, you want to put some pressure over towards the north side, piano, master, what have you. Sure, you want to put some pressure vertically, over towards mezzanine, library, again, what have you. But completely forgetting that there's a 3rd floor, even though it's not technically called a floor, it's the basement, is a wild oversight from a team that seems to be fairly neat and tidy when it comes to their defensive setups.
Neat and tidy may be an accurate way to phrase the Taken Kings attack on Bank, but excuse me if I'm not pizzazzed by their assault here on the map of Chalet. Again, I'm seeing a lot of those weaknesses that I was highlighting earlier that I saw yesterday as well. When they swing in tandem, they try to take the same approach in the same time. I like the idea to go in through highway through bathroom and have 2 players move in very quickly, but I feel like you still needed a 3rd player, maybe to go in from Solarium Staircase down from inside Trophy. You're going to swing players in so greedily into basement, then you would want to have a player go inside Blue Hall, and you want to have a refrag player there as well, because you already had the man advantage. It's just a matter of going in tandem.
Oh my.
Speaking of oh my. Twizzler off screen gets a nice pickup. A second spawn peak was looking to be there, but they survive for just a moment. Teasing the Wildcard Aces are.
Late reaction there from JetCon. I don't know if it would have saved their teammate, but he almost found a trade. So close yet so far for this Wildcard Aces defender, at least to dying, I suppose. Taken Kings' attack has some difficulties now. Losing that Brava, they've heavily relied on the Brava for information. Not directly because of the drones, but because of the hackability they provide. Removing bulletproof cameras, removing default cameras, of which are a lot more important to an attacking side than sometimes they can be to a defense, and that is no different here, especially on a Bar Gaming defensive setup. Vipoa will throw a Gemini Replicator in, jump in themselves, and actually shoot the Frostmat. I think the first time that's actually happened in this series, considering how many Frostmat kills we've seen. But Vipoa is not going to stop there. Riot holding the mezzanine window, or mezzanine door, sorry. I think there's a second player over towards Ego, and that's Bry. He wins the fight 5v3, and Riot actually almost took his teammate's head off instead of stim pistoling him. Luckily, he missed.
I mean, all. How Taken Kings would try to swing in through box and just not realize a player's holding top of stairs, ready to swing over closer towards Ego window like you mentioned. It's a big problem. Taken Kings gonna have to change up their approach. Twizzler, though, close inside Fireplace. Oh, no. Great drone work from the Taken Kings. And the just hectic fire still goes unpunished. Twizzler, P90 to the head of Burnt Turkey. That cannot be allowed. The Taken Kings are bearing down towards a loss as it's a 5v2. Damage sent towards Wumbo. Even close to the prowl must go for JetCon. They get the refrag back, but it's too little too late. The rest of the team for Wildcard have now re-solidified their positions back towards site. Bra, even with a wonderful crossfire from one player over towards Bar, stacked up towards Kitchen Hall. It's one, not good for two, and JJ pounces. And the Wildcard side will give themselves a much needed round win to hold off the Taken Kings victory here on Chalet. We've got at least one more round to go to see if the Taken Kings can finish this. If the Wildcard Aces can say OT is here to stay.
Nearly textbook double swing as well. Not only around one another, but around information. You didn't see over-aggression there from Bry on the top side of the library stairs, patiently waiting to gain red pings or a definitive location onto one or both players. Sees both, swings onto both, finds a first kill, sure, the trade's there, but there's the second part, the second aspect of the double swing. JJ just casually sitting on the second landing of those blue stairs, able to find a swing, a kill, and the round. Wildcard Aces a much better round at that for their defensive setup. They played around sound cues and information while still actively holding down angles. They didn't overswing. They never really had to. You saw a little bit of aggression from the Solus at Twizzler because, you know, he's got balls of steel, I swear. Wild setup, if I do say so myself. But he swings out West Main, finds the first. Swings into dining for a second after being droned. That was the real outstanding part to me. And takes enough time off the clock for the rest of the team to rotate over and get fairly well set up. Nice play.
Breakdown of the last round achieved. Now the matter of importance comes down to the very possible last round. In case you guys have not been here, Taken Kings, previously the HK Rebel, are 4-peats victors here of the Game Rogue events, and it looks like they want to go full 5. Should they lose, the Wildcard Aces, who I believe, as you had said earlier, and I'll repeat it, so if it is wrong, feel free to correct Tan and not me. The first time they made it to a grand finals, it could be the first time we see old HK Rebels, now Taken Kings, get upset. There's a lot on the line here is what we're getting at here, Dan. A big precedent that could be set, and if I also recollect, again, correct me if I'm wrong, or Dan, correct Dan if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be corrected. Don't get in my head. The winner of this gets their big punch tickets to the summer series of it as well, with the 2 quarterfinals and the splits in the playoffs and everything in between.
Also true.
Thank you very much.
Another notable aspect, Taken Kings, they want to close this out. They want to book their ticket and book a decent bit of cash in their back pocket. They've already secured money. It's just a matter of how much is the determinant factor. Wildcard Aces trying to hinder them for the time being, and in this 12th round will solidify an opening duel in their favor, dropping the Thermite no less. That is such a difficult aspect for the Taken Kings to now play around. They have no secondary hard breach to play. I'm not sure if they've opened up the main breach. Riot's hesitancy to swing there indicates that they have, but I don't know if it was with that exothermic charge. I think that's the avenue of attack in which Scoob died from, and the fact that Burnt Turkey's still over here indicates that to be the case. So maybe not the end of the world, but still a difficult aspect for them to be in, and yeah, there's that breach being opened. There is still that way in the attack.
Taken Kings now left with 70 seconds, Dan. It's a dangerous section when you know you're a man down. The exothermic charge has already done its wonders. It's due diligence.
Oh
the bigger
no.
problem now is it's a 5v3. Burnt Turkey is gone and JetCon will join them, though still in the lobby. The worst case scenario for the Taken Kings. Rai the Wumbo left now in a 1 versus 5. Has already gotten 1, but 45 seconds left to find 4 more. Disastrous.
There's no way.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
It feels
It's not going to
impossible.
happen. Now's a tech timeout. This is a tech and attack timeout at the same time. Burnt Turkey being DC'd, that's terrible. Perfectly timed jump out. Oh my goodness. Wumbo was stuck in the reload animation. Talk about patch noted. He's a dead man. One shot was all that remained in that L8, and he died because of it. We're headed to OT. But first, an unfortunate technical pause with Burnt Turkey being removed. They had so many different aspects to that attacking setup. Burnt Turkey, I think, being the most notable of the pincer over towards the big garage, and he gets disconnected as he tries to take a fight. Poetic Justice for Wildcard being the one to have all the tech issues thus far? We'll soon find out.
No matter what, it's rough, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is a team that had, not very many tech issues to this point. Problems have been plaguing Wildcard, and it goes back their way. This is not karma. They do not deserve this. That was a very reclaimable round in the final 70 seconds until the beginning of the end of it. It was still very difficult. They did choose a very poor avenue to approach from. And I think Burnt Turkey was their kind of small rib to apply pressure off screen. Losing that essentially meant they only had one direction to push in from. And you know how much we don't like very one-dimensional approaches. They tend to fail. It tends to just become a very brute force strategy. And unfortunately, in a game where a single bullet can kill it at the head, brute force isn't always the answer.
As much as I love one direction, you said it. I don't like one-dimensional pushes.
I don't know where that came in.
You said one direction at some point.
Did I?
And I immediately thought, baby, you light up my world like nobody.
Wait, is that One Direction who sings that?
Yeah.
All right, let's leave it that way.
Oh, no, he was flaming me. He says, is it One Direction who sings that? Oh, let's keep it that way. Our observer even flaming Scott because he thought that Scott didn't know. But Scott did know. He's just a funny man.
Not everyone understands high IQ humor. Obviously not a Rick and Morty enjoyer. Let's get to a break. I think it's going to be used as a tag timeout and also a technical host, right? These players are going to need time to talk things out. It's OT. This is the moment at which you need to really classify your team and how you're going to push the rest of this. So I think it's about time.
Yeah, we're asking for an ETA just to make sure that we don't talk your ear off for like 15 minutes if it does indeed take that long. Quite literally cannot, by the way. We'd actually have to rehost if it came to that point, but we want to make sure we're sending to a break before we do. No, they're launching, so it's okay. It seems like that we're going to get things underway, so we don't have to send things away before we move on. But I think the most notable aspect of this for the Taken Kings, you talked about it, losing a 5v3 demoralizing. Talk about having an opportunity to come back in round 12 and losing a player because of something you cannot control. Combine those over a very short time period. That momentum, whatever there was for this now attacking side, it's out the window. It's gone. Yeah. It is so far removed. And these are the most important 3 rounds. This best of 3 in terms of maps has turned to a best of 3 in rounds. That's what it comes to when push comes to shove. And I don't know how this could go any better if you're looking at the Wildcard Aces defense, because they have everything going for them, except for a lead that they probably should have anyway, considering how 2 rounds ended earlier.
The team that has reclaimed timeouts, as in had to fight for a chance to get into timeout, has lost. How about a map 1? Taken Kings had to fight for it. Wildcard Aces then go 2-0. Same thing happened yesterday. Technically, the Taken Kings had to vie for it on Chalet. So there's 2 ways to say that this could go. Either you look at map 1 of this series and say, oh my goodness, now it's going to go in favor of the team that had it already. Go, oh, Taken Kings get it. Or you're going to look at it like you looked at it yesterday and say the team that fights is going to have the momentum after that round win. After the 2 round wins they got in a row. Same thing happened to Taken Kings. Then take OT. But it did require all 3 rounds just yesterday. This has been one of the best series of all time for Gamer, I would say. In terms of actual competition between map 1 and map 3, this is as good of action as you can get. And on top of that, it's not just the 10 players that are fighting here. It's the internet connection and the software and the engine. These players are battling much more than just each other. And they're still having such a close affair.
It was their 16-8, by the way. In a 6-6 game, this man is a 2.0 KD. Sure, dude. Whatever. I wish. Let's put it that way. Scoob looking for some more horizontal destruction. Sledgehammer available. Will open up many avenues of attack. A swing and a miss, though. Looking for a second attempt. But Twizzlers playing below. They do not have a C4, at least not on this side of the map. Bino has one, but he doesn't have direct access to it around the Solus. Twizzler wants to take this fight because why not? The problem is, I think their feet have been seen. He's dead. He crouches into the shots. He may have had an opportunity to get out there, but Scoob taking full advantage. Your 2.0 KD falling just a little bit. And I think most notably, your top fragger gone in the early stages of the round.
Flashes galore. Thankfully, Bry is on the Warden. The Gamer Shades are blocking most of the util dumped their way. Bring out the Warden so you don't necessarily need the Jaeger for the ADSs to eat up the utility dumped up to top of stairs. It's so you can bring out the Wamai instead so that it still gets eaten. So it's still eating up the utility to burn out shield that's typically placed there, but you don't have to worry about stepping back. You're just a Jaeger, or you're just someone sitting at top of stairs, that would be a concern. Interestingly enough, for the Wildcard Aces, though, they're not bringing out the Wamai. It's only the Jaeger for the ADS burn. The shield that was placed there as well, I can only assume by Bry. Could be an issue. JJ slow crawl around the corner.
No.
I think they do.
I don't know if there's ADSs, though. That's the most important aspect of this. If there's ADSs there, maybe you're able to stay alive here if Riot's still up. Seems like there's two. We've heard from our observer for the information, and they have seen the sledge. Riot turns away at the worst possible time, though, but still wants to take the fight. With the extra avenue of attack being created here for Scoob, the kill's still found. 2-for-1 trade, though. Wildcard Aces walk away on the front foot, but Burnt Turkey down below almost lines up a second, but it still comes down to a 2 versus 3. JJ, somewhat removed inside of the mudroom, does not have an easy way back in, and Bino there with him has an odd position if they want to retake the site, but he doesn't have the opportunity to do so. A 1 versus 2 here for Bino. Finds a first and denies that avenue of attack in. JetCon looking for a second would have to drop the library hatch if he wanted to get onto the site, but Bino swinging, looking for the shot, instead will be just that. Wumbo doming him with the AR-33, and the round and match and series point back in the favor of Taken Kings.
They're now going to transition over to the defense, something they did fairly well on, but unfortunately, the case happens to be said. It went even for both sides, for both ends. So no matter how well they did in the rounds they won, they obviously did poorly in the same exact spot. But we're heading over to Kitchen and Dining. I think if you pick an objective, if you're taking Kings, this one is solid, but I don't know if it's yours. I can't scream that this is yours. They ran into huge problems, Dan, when it came to the extension of the second floor. You defend Kitchen and Dining like it's like it's office and bedroom. You extend to the second floor and you play from there. Because the top-down approach for the defense is better to deny in a post plant. Deny the post plant in general, just deny the plant. It also makes it so that it just buys more time for the attack that pushes forward. So they have a time constraint. 6th man on the field for your defense is father time ticking in your favor, not the other way around. But they lost to the big window. They lost, undeniably so, to master bedroom big window. And that was something that the Wildcard Aces had something to recover back from that was obviously slow when they dashed out to get the player holding that window, unfortunately, after they lost the 2nd man to it. The Taken Kings never showed that they could do that. Not once. And that's very concerning. It worries me, Dan.
I think the most important aspect about this Wildcard Aces attack is if they can find either A, early real estate, which is kind of afforded to them by default if you look over towards the side. Well, talk about dropping down utility. JetCon was hunting for that drone and found it. I'm surprised he's not playing Solus with that level of information gathering. But Wildcard Aces attack, they're looking for this free real estate, and they're being given it, in all fairness to them. We're seeing something similar with Riot being actively droned in. Luckily this time, nobody's flanking behind him. But the problem is Taken Kings are giving it to him. Nobody's playing on this far south side of the map. Nobody cares about this far south side of the map. They're playing vertically above the site and in the long hallway. That's it.
I think this exact window has been held by 1 HP. They like to play inside Ivy specifically. I remember asking them a question in an interview for the last Game Rogue event, why they did that. Piano window also put in place, so it really does burn Rotero drones. It burns utility for the Wildcard Aces. The time is not the most important factor for being bought. It is nice, The advantage comes from the utility burn. They're going to go ahead and go through the soft wall that's been left open from the Taken Kings. This was another reason why I did not like it. Once big window got broken, it was entirely impossible to reclaim. Office, thankfully, the objective is not office instead. Burnt Turkey watching slowly for master bedroom, has the burnt hole in the wall to go from. JetCon as well down below, trying to signal up on site. It really is the Wildcard Aces taking their time, but clock is ticking now with 70 seconds left here.
Cut across. It's the line of sight. It's Bri to find the opener. Burnt Turkey dead. The Warden is gone. A massive aspect of your fragging power removed in the earlier stages of this original and initiated take from Wildcard. They also have that far setup for Twizzler here around Solarium. They want to pincer out this top floor if they can try to do so. Magnets being set up here in the top floor, if they can manage it, Vipoa the one to do so, just to try and remove any semblance of utility, but they're just going to walk in, and they'll do so to their own demise. Riot, the first one to fall here for the Wildcard Aces side, and they're looking to aggress on the defense. They want to try and retake this, but they will do so only in vain. Vipoa the one to fall. JetCon holding a distant angle over towards 45, but it seems like Taken Kings are playing a significant more disengaged defensive setup than what we've seen in prior rounds. Two players initiated over towards this trophy side. They want to play for longer range engagements if they can manage to do so, and it's going to work in their favor. Bino to fall. They walk down the backside of Solarium stairs, and they'll find a kill, a team kill onto JetCon, and walking in is Bri. The Wildcard Aces will force 15 rounds, and everything, all that can be required is now just that here on Chalet.
The issue arises for a team on every map. A TK leads them to OT. You give up the round of the back of a TK, and it gives the other team overtime. It happened on Oregon. It happened yesterday in favor of the Taken Kings here on Chalet. And now, in the worst possible round, bar this one here, it happens against them. Their karmic justice has failed them. They burnt it all earlier. Now they've given it away. 7-7 overtime, match point, series point, last possible chance. And Wildcard Aces head down to the basement where they have been damn good, Dan, when it comes to holding on to this side. It has been so difficult for the Taken Kings.
It's down to the attack. It's down to those opening duels. That has really been the bread and butter for Taken Kings in all of the rounds they won, except for the most notable of them, the 3v5 that Wildcard Aces brought back to really initiate this comeback. A reminder, they were down 6-4. They were down 2-0 to start the game. They've had difficulties throughout, but they've had that sustainability. The most important part of their defense has been that sustainability. Bri goes for the notable ranked spawn peak, is unsuccessful in trying so, not to the fact that they've died, but to the fact they've just found a whole lot of nothing with it. There was also just a run out from the fireplace window as well, but they think better of it. Everybody survives.
They're hungry.
Everybody survives.
They have to be hungry, though, to be fair. Remember the old days where you could use a bullet to create a hole in a wall? Now that's no longer doable, obviously. I used to do that through that barricade window. I would use the Kaid, revolver to do it. You have the giant scope on top of it as well. It was perfect. Unfortunately, Ubisoft did not like that. And speaking of not liking that, Wildcard Aces fans really liked that. Vipoa, who has been a clutch king for the side of the Taken Kings, and a lot of their series throughout this event, now no longer in ingestion. That's a nade gone. That's Gemini Replicator intel gone. That's drones you possibly had in your pocket gone. Now you're just sitting there praying your team can clutch things up. The final 2 minutes on the clock.
It's something similar for Taken Kings. This is something we've seen a lot for their attacking side, notably in the later stages of that second half. Reminder, they won the first round on their attacking side here in OT to really put them on a match point, but they've sputtered out. They've lost that momentum. And Wildcard Aces have, again, found an opening kill and backed away. Where are the Wildcard Aces? It is a turtle setup, and it seems like the Hair, that being the Taken Kings, are going to run themselves into exhaustion and a map loss, and subsequently a Grand Finals loss. This would be their first loss in a Grand Finals, their first loss, period, in Game Rogue events.
And the loss means you get sent out. They have yet to have that happen. More can you ask for? You gotta ask a lot for these players. Burnt Turkey, it's back onto the basement side, and shockingly enough, it's not a DC that gets them out of the fight. Wumbo, he's gonna stick this diffuser, but upstairs, JetCon gets DBNO'd. Scoob with a wildfire spray down gets it going, and the plant goes down. Wumbo will just lie down prone. DBNO'd, the run out must go through. Scoob sprays down 2. It's up to Twizzler. Stuck outside, and Twizzler cuts down the final. What the heck just happened? The Taken Kings will fall. The Guardians of the Wildcard Aces. Oh my God.
It's Jover. We're back. It's Jover. Wildcard have taken it. And Wildcard fight back. Down seemingly every single point in this matchup. Down 6-5. Down 7-6. They had to bring back-to-back rounds just to sustain. And yet, they walk away with the near narrow loss in what was a 3v1 round. Scoob somehow lines up 2 with the Para, almost finds the third, but the perfect